Thank you, everyone. Good evening and welcome to the City of Pasco Council Workshop Meeting. The Council thanks you for being a part of your city government. At workshop meetings, the Council discusses issues, but no formal action is taken. Agenda packets are available on the City of Pasco's website at www.pasco-wa.gov/agenda. This meeting is also being televised live on PSC-TV, channel 191 on Spectrum Cable in Pasco and Richland, and is streamed on the city's Facebook page, website, YouTube channel, and Microsoft Teams webinar. This and previous council meeting video is available on the city's website. Lastly, the public may submit their comments and or questions by contacting the city manager, city clerk, or by using the Ask Pasco app. With that, Ms. Clerk, if we can get a roll call.
Councilmember Campos.
Here.
Cotta.
Here.
Figueroa.
Present.
Hernandez.
Present.
Perales.
Here.
Milne.
Present.
Grimm.
Here.
7 council members present.
Thank you. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. Moving on to number 4, we are going to take we aren't, but Councilmember Cotta is going to take his oath of office. If you want to follow me to the podium out there. All right, repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Joe Cotta,
Do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America
and the Constitution and laws of the State of Washington
and the constitutional laws of the State of Washington
and all local ordinances, and that I will faithfully and impartially perform
and all local ordinances, and that I will faithfully and impartially perform
and discharge the duties of the office of
and discharge the duties of the office of
Council Member District 4, Position Number 4
Council Member Number 4, Position 4, District 4
for the City of Pasco,
for the City of Pasco,
according to law, to the best of my ability, so help me God.
according to the law, to the best of my ability, so help me God.
Congratulations, Council Member. Thank you. All right, those are fun occasions. Moving on to number 5, verbal reports from council members. Councilmember Campos.
Yeah, just want to share that I was pretty excited to take the tour of the aquatics facility. Was really excited for everything that they're doing out there. It seems to be on pace, and it looks like they're going to be opening right on time. So it was really great to see. I was really excited to even hear that 60% is going to be indoor and it's going to be year round, and so that's always an awesome thing. Also was privileged to be at the Purple Heart ceremony for Officer Phil Hanks, and it just felt good to be there. I mean, just everybody was just there, and you could just feel the excellence, and so it was really, really heartfelt with that, and just being around all of them. And so I just want to appreciate our law enforcement and first responders that were there to do that. And then I ended the week at the Summers Hub of Pasco. They had a small business event encouraging people to show up, and so amazing food. If nobody hasn't been there yet, great food, great time. So it was a good week.
Awesome. Thank you so much. No, appreciate it. Yeah, you being able to, I'm glad the class situation worked just right for you to be able to sneak down and join us all. That was quite the ceremony to think of somebody and what our law enforcement goes through. So no, I really appreciate you being there. And I want to thank each and every one of you guys for being there for our water outreach meetings, whether the one last week or whether tonight. I mean, we all made it there and we're a part. Some of us made it to a couple of them. Thank you, Mr. Perales. But no, really appreciate you guys being a part of the city like that. And then myself and Mayor Pro Tem were just in the Fireman Pension Board meeting. So appreciate everybody's involvement here in the city. Let's move on to item number 6, items for discussion with opportunity for public comment. The public may comment on each topic scheduled for discussion up to 2 minutes per person with a total of 8 minutes per item. If opposing sides wish to speak, then both sides receive an equal amount of time to speak, up to 4 minutes each side. And just for our new council members, since this is really our first workshop together as a council, this was originally the past council. We wanted to be more transparent to the public and allow the public more opportunities to interact with us. And so this kind of really came out of that. And one of the things that struck me especially is if you scroll down in our agenda, some of these agenda items that are presented to us tonight, oftentimes we would discuss and they would go straight to the consent agenda if they're just a regular, just kind of a regular run-of-the-mill item. Well, we do our consent agenda before public discussion next week. So we could say, hey, let's go ahead and do this. It goes on our consent agenda and we approve it next week before the public even has a chance to speak about it. And so I, for one, really, really appreciate this kind of extra opportunity for the public to feedback. And so this is brand new over the last couple of years. And so that's the purpose of it, why we do it. And I think it's really, really important. So with that, we're going to start with letter A, preliminary Franklin County Solid Waste Management Plan. This is scheduled for a 10-minute staff presentation. Oh, we're not doing public comment though right now, sir.
You're not?
No, this is a workshop meeting. So you are allowed to speak on any one of these items for up to 2 minutes after.
Okay, I got you.
Yep, that would be next week if just a general comment.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, you bet. So yes, with that, this is Director Sarah.
Good evening, Mayor and Council members. I want to introduce this item before I pass it on to our consultant. This item provides an overview, and the presentation we'll have today from Herrera Inc. We provide an overview of the draft plan for solid waste management in Franklin County. City of Pasco and the council itself has agreed to an interlocal agreement that commits the city to adopting this plan once the plan is finished. So at this point, this plan is at the state of final draft and is going to undergo all the regulatory reviews prior to adoption. At this time, the plan is presented as a draft and we welcome comments and questions from you. The whole plan is attached to the packet tonight. And the presentation will help us a quick overview so that it's easier to get into the details of the plan. This plan was led by Herrera and the project itself was managed by Franklin County staff. Yet there is an advisory committee, the Solid Waste Advisory Committee, where City of Pasco and other cities within Franklin County were represented. So we had our opportunity to provide input and guide this process, yet your input is welcome. The solid waste, just for the general public, is what we typically refer to as garbage or trash. And there are current regulations that we need to be compliant with, and then there are changing regulations we need to maintain compliance with in future years. And this is why it's important that this plan is in place so we understand what responsibilities the city would have in order to meet those new regulations. And with that, I would like to introduce Wendy Mifflin with Herrera Inc., who would provide the presentation for you all tonight. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My My name is Wendy Mifflin, and I'm a solid waste planner and project manager with Herrera Environmental Consultants. And we were hired to assist with the update of the plan for Franklin County. Next slide, please. So today I'm going to give you a brief overview of the planning requirements and then go through some of the plan highlights and then be open for questions at the end. So a little bit about the regulatory background. Of course, RCWA 70A205 requires all local governments to keep their solid waste management plans updated, and plans by regulatory authority have to be reviewed and updated every 5 years. And just as a side note, the last time the Franklin County Solid Waste Management Plan was updated, it was in 2010. So you were allowed to go 15 years, which is really unusual with the regulatory groups that we have now. Franklin County and the city of Pasco entered into an interlocal agreement in 2025 to cooperatively prepare the solid waste and hazardous waste management plan. So the city council signed that interlocal agreement in mid-2025. With the signing of that, Franklin County established a solid waste advisory committee to help them update the solid waste and hazardous waste management plan. And that group consisted of representatives from all the cities, the county, agriculture, the waste haulers, independent groups, businesses, and then just citizens that were interested in the process. The solid waste management plan will be reviewed by the Washington State Department of Ecology, the Washington State Department of Ag, and the Washington Utilities and Transportation Commission, and those will provide comments that will be included in the final plan. And then once we get all the regulatory comments, including going through a SEPA process, adoption will be conducted by the cities and towns in Franklin County. So we'll be bringing the plan back to the city council for acceptance and adoption, probably in May or June of this year. Next slide, please. So here you see an overview of the development process for a solid waste management plan. We started the process with creation of the Solid Waste Advisory Committee, and then we did some mission and goal setting for the group to start, and then individual chapters were gone through with comments solicited from all of the members of the Solid Waste Advisory Committee from July to November of this year. We had a final draft plan in December that had started the regulatory review process and the SEPA process. And again, we expect to be to you probably in May with a plan for the city council to adopt. So it's a pretty long adoption process. In fact, Ecology has 180 days to review and provide comments. So we're sitting in that comment period right now. So the overall mission statement for the Solid and Hazardous Waste Management Plan, you can see it on the screen, so I'm not going to read it to you, but basically it's that the county and all of the cities and towns are going to ensure that everybody has efficient and effective solid waste collection, handling, recycling, and disposal facilities, keep rates as stable and as low as possible, and then protect human health, environmental quality, and natural resource. So I guess I did read it to you. Sorry. The SWAC set goals as part of the Solid Waste Management Plan update in 4 different sections. And so in summary, we looked at what would be possible for infrastructure and systems to provide not only waste collection, but effective recycling opportunities in the county and in the city of Pasco as well. Looking at economic stability and how waste can be managed as a resource with a sustainable funding mechanism. Looking at education and outreach opportunities to help notify people of programs as they become available, and what to do with waste and how disposal works, how recycling works, so those kind of opportunities. And then look at some outside influences, because this plan has to be approved by the Department of Ecology. So there are a lot of state regulatory requirements related to product stewardship, organics, and recyclables that are happening in the state through adoption of new House bills and Senate bills. There are some strategy highlights in the plan that I think are important to review. And so the first one is that there'll be continuing priorities for waste prevention, reduction, and recycling, specifically looking at how to, well, I call it harmonize, but make sure that education and outreach initiatives are a cooperative effort between not only the cities and the counties, but your waste hauler as well. That's just to make sure that everybody gets the same message countywide as to how to handle different commodities in the waste stream. And then doing an evaluation and some system enhancements and compliance for all of the waste streams that are handled, not only waste streams, but recyclables as well. And as I spoke before, there are a number of new regulatory requirements that are being implemented at the state level. And so we want to make sure that you're in compliance to the best of our abilities in the county and within the city of Pasco. And then the last thing, and probably one of the most important things, is to have continued proper collection, handling, and disposal of municipal solid waste. We know that that leads to less illegal dumping, less cleanups. As long as you have proper collection and disposal of solid waste, you know, things stay clean in your county and within your city. So next steps. Like I said, we are in regulatory review and comment, probably through the end of April. And then we will take the regulatory review comments that we receive. We will update the draft plan, bring it back to the Solid Waste Advisory Committee for their approval, and then bring it back to the cities and the county for plan adoption. The cities adopt first, and then it comes back to the county for an overall adoption. And that process will probably be May to July of this year. And then Ecology gets a final review in August and gives final approval, hopefully, in August of this year. So with that, I am wide open for any questions or comments you might have.
Thank you, Ms. Mifflin. Anybody on council have any questions, comments? Mr. Perales?
The only question I had was, at the very end of the report, it talks about funding strategies, and a lot of it had to do with the recycling. And I mean, that table 18 talks about looking at like surcharges and stuff like that. I don't know if BDI wants to speak to that, but I mean, that just really caught my attention, because for city, it just gave, you have little X's, and it's pretty much saying, you know, you should probably do this, do that, do this. I'm like, that's like fees, rates. Talked about taxes, and probably increasing franchise fees. It just seems like that's a lot of money to cover this, I guess, recycling mandate from the state. Is there any cities that are looking to not do that?
So I'm working with a number. Would you like me to answer, or is Basin Disposal there?
Yeah, BDI's in the audience.
And Wendy, you can give us an overview, since you're working with several groups, and then we'll call also Jeff with BDI to tell us more about what is happening here.
Yes, so I'm currently working with 3 different counties right now doing their solid waste management plan up. The state has passed a number of regulatory requirements over the last year without passing a funding scenario for those. And so we know that for a number of them, the county receives grant funding from the Department of Ecology for implementation of some of those programs. But some programs, if they move forward, are going to require funding for implementation, for curbside collection, potentially of organics and recyclables. At this point, the state has not completed all of their guidance, and so we don't know what's going to be laid out for that. But I think the state is aware that a number of these funding is going to be really difficult, especially in eastern Washington. So I think we're all staying tuned to see what they're going to do with some of that.
Okay, thank you.
And Mayor, if you may, we have BDI present in the audience if you want to hear.
We would love to hear from
some
Jeff.
of
Thank
that
you for
information.
asking.
Is this on? Is this working? So I'm still stepping in this position. Rebecca Franchek has been a champion for Basin on this committee. I've submitted my letter of interest application to serve on the SWAC, so I'm starting to digest this. I came in late in the process, but I can tell you the team, Wendy, the committee did a really good job of putting this together. I did review it, look at it, so I think we've got a good plan. Talk a little bit about the funding. I actually just met with Yakima County this morning. Be working with City of Pasco, Franklin County, all the cities we serve on the new laws and regulations that Olympia voted in. And just to give you guys a brief touch on this, and there's a lot more to come, they did vote in organics to go in place in 2027. I believe each county can submit a waiver pushing that potentially back to 2030, but we'll be working with the counties and the cities on how to implement that. How do we stand that up? Curbside recycling was also voted in to take place in 2030. That will be another plan. We'll have to understand how to fund it, how to play assets, how to operate it, how to do it. So I think there's more to come on that. I believe some of these rules and laws, when you can speak a little bit more to this than I can even, are voted and are in place, and we'll be working with you and your teams to solve this, and how do we stand this up, and then how does it get funded?
Always on top of it, Jeff. Thank you.
No, and I appreciate your question too, trying to be mindful of the burden to really just the taxpayers and everything like that. I know in California where they do collect some of the organics, it is exponentially adds to the monthly bill and everything like
I'd
that.
love to say it doesn't. I did a big conference with all the waste haulers around Washington State. We're trying to understand this. I think Department of Ecology is trying to understand how to stand this up and what this means. So more to come. We'll work with you, your team, city, to stand this up. But yeah, there is a cost to it.
Okay, appreciate it. Thank you so much. Appreciate you being here, Jeff. Thank you. Anybody have anything else? We'll turn to the public now. The public has a chance to weigh in on this. Any member of the audience like to speak on this issue? For or against? Going once, going twice? Closing comment on that. Let's move on to letter B, introduction of quasi-judicial item, ordinance for Rocky Hills Management, LP, Wilson Estates rezone from RT to R1, Z25-009, and this is coming from Ms. Mattson.
Thank you, Mayor, and good evening, council members. And my name's Haley Mattson, the Community and Economic Development Director here. It's nice to meet some of you new council members. Haven't met all of you yet. Tonight is a workshop item that will be based on the quasi-judicial process. So next week we will be bringing a land use application for the council to consider. And tonight we wanted to explain the process for these types of applications for newer council members, and then a good refresher for existing council members, because this can get rather complex, but don't feel that you need to know every bit of every detail that I cover tonight. We have, our staff here, our city attorneys and myself that will help you navigate through these processes each time. So if you still feel like you don't know all of the details, we'll be here to guide you through it. So don't feel any pressure with this, since some of the land use topics can be rather heavy at times. So the ordinance that's shown on the screen will come next week, and I can click through it. It's okay. Yeah, I got it. If it stops working, I'll ask for help. So this will go through the quasi-judicial process, and it's sort of a funny term. So the word quasi means almost or as if, and then judicial is a court-like process. So quasi-judicial means that the process is similar to a court process, but it's not an actual court process. It follows court-like rules, and the decision is based on the record, not opinions or politics. So this is related to the land use topic, and
Haley?
Yes.
We have our attorney, Drew Pollum,
Okay.
who has his hands raised.
Okay.
Yes, and I'm sorry to interrupt. We actually have a kind of a script because you're sitting as a quasi-judicial body. Even when you're not taking action on this time, there is some information you need to know. And I apologize. We need to do this at first before Haley continues with the presentation. And I thank you, Haley. You've kind of already got into the first piece, which is what a quasi-judicial hearing proceeding is. It is defined as a proceeding in which the council defines the legal rights, duties, or privileges of the specific parties in a hearing, proceeding, or contested hearing. Most importantly, is when you're sitting in the quasi-judicial seat, there's a doctrine called the appearance of fairness doctrine applies. And what that means is that the hearing or proceeding must be fair in three respects: in form, in substance, and in appearance. And for this specific situation, the ordinance in front of you went in front of the hearing examiner on November 12th, 2025. So what you are considering in part is the hearing examiner's recommendation that came out of that hearing on November 12th. Because the public hearing on this matter was previously held by the hearing examiner, no new evidence can be presented at this time, nor at the meeting in a week when you take up this matter, and only those who participated in the open record hearing in front of the hearing examiner may testify and present argument, but they cannot present any new evidence to you. And then prior to commencing deliberations, and this is the part that we need to get done today, all council members should consider whether or not they have a potential conflict of interest as follows: and demonstrate a bias for or against any of the parties, any direct or indirect financial interest in the outcome of the proceeding, which would affect the council members personally, whether there has been any prejudgment of the issues prior to the hearing of the facts, whether there's been any ex parte contact with anybody other than staff prior to this hearing. And ex parte contact means you've talked to somebody either in person, maybe it's on the phone or email or text about this issue that is before you. Any other conflicts any other conflict which a council member believes would prevent them from hearing this matter fairly or impartially. If any of you council members has any concerns or disclosures, now would be the time to make that known on the record. I'm seeing no hands raised. There's one last piece of this, and that is that if there are any members of the public seeking to disqualify a member of council from participating in the proceeding. And if so, please state the nature of that challenge. I'm assuming nobody's coming up at the podium, and so that means that concludes my piece of this. Thank you, everyone, and thank you, Haley, for letting me interject.
Of course. Thank you so much for that introduction. And that is a good precursor to what you'll hear prior to the public meeting. So it's just the language that we read to remind council of the proceedings for quasi-judicial matters. With the process here in Pasco, council's role for these matters is to apply the city codes to the decision and not politics or any conversations that maybe you've had with other folks, which is hard because these topics do usually generate a lot of public interest. I did include the packet for illustrative purposes. The purpose tonight isn't really to discuss the project. I know it's a teaser. It's in there. Anyway, for you, I can answer some clarifying questions if you'd like, but usually these land use decisions where there's a vacant property that's being developed in Pasco generates a lot of interest from the community, specifically neighbors near the site and neighbors in the county who look at it and say, well, I don't want apartments near me because it's going to affect my property value or I'm going to lose my view. So it does become very sensitive. And a lot of neighbors in Pasco feel comfortable reaching out to their council members, as they should, and they usually do. And so when that does occur for these projects, if it is going to a hearing examiner for a public hearing, it's very important that you politely decline to speak with these individuals. We can help prep you with language. The city attorney and myself can help you with a response that, is catering to them, but also not really engaging in the matter. If you do engage in the matter outside of the court hearing, that's the quasi-judicial process, then you'd be required to disclose it during the land use decision, as Attorney Pullman just read through those cases. So if you're ever not sure, just check with us. It's okay. We want to be able to help you and be a resource. You can talk to our city manager, the city attorney, or myself if you're ever confused. But generally, if there is a project going to the public hearing, the neighbors will be notified, and then they'll be reaching out to their council members usually. And the appropriate response would be to direct them to attend the public hearing. That's the purpose of it. And state their comments and concerns to the hearing examiner. And the hearing examiner in Pasco is a third party independent from city staff and city council. So a land use judge, basically, that looks at the proposal. And in some ways it's nice. It takes the weight off city council. You maybe, have personal ties in the community. And the hearing examiner is really there to look at the city codes and decide if the project meets the city codes. And if it does, the project can move forward. So it's just a way to have checks and balances in the system so that people who own property have their property rights that are respected, and we follow the city codes each time. So that's the process there, and I'll move through the slides here. Are there any questions on that initial introduction before I move on to more details? And I'll explain as we further go along. Next slide, please. Clicker doesn't appear to be working. Thank you. And next slide, please. So don't worry about reading all of that text on the slide since I did cover most of it. I just want to walk through the process of how these applications come to be in Pasco. So typically the applicant starts with coming into City Hall and they approach one of our friendly community planners and they say, hey, I would like to rezone this property or develop the property, and we go through the land use requirements for that. And if it is required to go to the hearing examiner, staff will spend a lot of time looking at the site, the surrounding uses, the code, and we will prepare a staff report, and then we'll notice the public hearing and present the staff report at a hearing examiner public hearing. And the hearing examiner will go through the process, take input from lots of community members, and if you see in this packet, you'll see there's been a lot of comments generated on this rezone that's happening in the north area of town, and there's a lot of people with input. So that input gets taken at the public hearing in addition to the written comments, and that all gets packaged into a recommendation that gets forwarded to the city council to review. So next week you'll receive the full packet. It is included this week just so you can start looking at it ahead of time. So you will receive the whole packet, and that is considered the official record. And that is what the city council is required to base its decision on. So next week we'll hold the closed record public hearing. New comments are public comments. There's also limitations on what we can accept. We can't just take any new public comments. So if somebody showed up to the meeting and said, Mayor, I haven't been involved in the process so far, but I have a new traffic report that is going to debunk everything that the record has said. Please accept this tonight. We cannot, unfortunately, accept that because it's new information, and that should have been included in the original hearing. What we can allow is for people who have already spoke at the public hearing at the hearing examiner level to speak to council. And like I said, we'll walk you through this when the time comes. When we open for public comment, either myself or the city attorney will say, point of clarification, here's how we should handle public comments. So the hearing examiner conducts the hearing, passes on the recommendation, and then it goes to council and you make a recommendation. When it comes to you next week, you can decide on the matter. You can approve it, or if you want to remand it back to the hearing examiner to further review a certain item, you can. If you deny the proposal, we need to establish, it's very rare that a denial would be legally supported unless we established our findings of fact and just said, hey, staff and the hearing examiner missed the ball. This actually is legal. It's not allowed here. You can't do this type of development in this zone because it's industrial, for example. So that would be the process. And then just a sneak peek, I just walked through the process there. For this proposal, here's the site. It's in the north end of town. And it is currently zoned for residential transition zoning. And that's a zoning that we put on large portions of property annexed into the city. They don't quite have a specific zoning yet, so it's allowed. It allows single family development on larger lots, and this site will be developed with single family lots in the R1 zone that allows a variety of different types of uses: single family homes, duplexes, triplexes, middle housing. So that's a sneak peek of what you'll see next week, and I just blasted everybody with information. So if you have procedural questions, feel free to ask them. If you have some general questions about the project, I think we can touch on those. But if it's anything further or opinions on it, I would save that until the public meeting. And then finally, I know that we had said at the beginning of the meeting that we'd accept public comments. I would recommend not accepting comments on this item. I should have noted that earlier, but wouldn't be appropriate at this time to take comments in based on the project until next week.
No, thank you for the deep explanation there, Ms. Mattson. And yeah, I was gonna give some kind of prerequisite or something like that. That yeah, just if somebody wanted to talk about the procedure or whatever, but the actual project itself, probably not where we want to go. Considering that, and before I go to Mr. Campos, just a comment or two. This is one of the most frustrating things for the public that I've come across in the last couple of years. Because I think Mr. Milne especially has been approached, and I'm sure others have too, by the public wanting to talk about this or inviting them to the site. Hey, look at this. Look what we're going to be affected by that. And by doing so, you may end up potentially having to disqualify yourself from that because, as Ms. Mattson and our attorney was saying, you just have to deal with the facts at matter. And that can be very frustrating for the public, like she was saying, for us to kind of have to turn them down. So it is something very sensitive. Another thing our prior attorney said that I think was also helpful, you know, we generally speaking are the legislative body of the city, but we kind of have to take that hat off for this and put on this quasi-judicial hat and really just kind of making a legal judgment on the item rather than kind of a political legislative process. So it really is different and very formal and worth considering. Councilmember Campos?
Yeah, I just had a quick question on just the actual timeline processes. I know back in the day when I was on the planning commission, a lot of this stuff would come to us. And I know that caused some delays a lot with that. So now going to a hearing examiner, have we seen that it comes a lot faster throughout the whole process for that?
Yes, I think it does go quicker through the hearing examiner process just because it's so regimented and there's a specific process to follow. When I used to take these matters to planning commission 10 years ago, it takes a little longer just because the planning commission isn't as like polished as the hearing examiner. They all certainly know enough about land use, but it's been taken away from that group and placed on the hearing examiner, who's a land use judge and sometimes attorney, so they just follow the rules. So it does go quicker, and staff will be looking at these processes closer this year and next to see if we can maybe move some of these to administrative review to even skip the hearing examiner process, but still allow for a public hearing if there's, say, 4 or 5 adverse comments, you know, allow the public to come. So we can build in an ability to keep hearings for the projects that generate interest, but then eliminate the hearing for very straightforward projects that can go through even quicker. Of course.
Awesome, thank you. Just one last follow-up, just for the public in general and even our new council members, and maybe our city attorney or city manager may be better in a place to answer it. But how much of this is city code and how much of it is just state law that we have to follow in this process?
The state, I'll take a stab at it, and then Attorney Paulman can jump in if I miss it. But most of the codes that we're following are in city code, like whether or not the project meets zoning and infrastructure requirements, setbacks. Those are codes that we adopt in place. So a lot of the project related review or rezone criteria.
Yeah,
that's
the
in city
process,
code.
the quasi-judicial
Yeah, that's
process.
That's state process.
Okay.
If we elect to send these through the hearing examiner process, that is identified at the state level.
Okay, yeah, that was more my question, just for the sake of the public, yeah, and the rest. Okay, let's move on then. Letter C, 5 resolutions. Helena 1 and 2 development reimbursement agreements with Broachy Orchard LLC and Jubilee Foundation. And this is right back at you, Ms. Mattson.
Thank you. So switching gears a little bit, this is after a development occurs, and this is after a developer installs certain infrastructure improvements and the concept for developer reimbursements. And again, you don't need to read everything on the screen. I'll work on better pictures next time. But basically, a developer's agreement is also called a latecomer's agreement in some situations. And this is used when a developer is required to build public streets or utilities. And by utilities, I mean water and sewer connection lines underneath the streets. And they pay the cost up front to build these infrastructure improvements. And they're required for that development, but the improvements that they put in may help other future developments. So this allows the developer to be partially reimbursed back for the improvement. So if they do a improvement that benefits other property owners, the other property owners develop, then they need to pay their fair share. Otherwise, it's not very fair for the first developer who put in all the money. And then it would be a waiting game, who's building first, and then the other person comes and gets it for free, basically. So the other developer would, or the first developer would be partially reimbursed. And that only occurs if the properties develop within a certain time frame. It's 15 to 20 years, depending on which improvement it is. So it's a pretty long time window. So it does give the developer ability to be reimbursed. The city funds are not involved. This is all just payments tracked by the developer implementing the infrastructure improvements and then getting paid back. So we do flag the parcels. So if someone comes in later adjacent to the site and develops, we would flag it and say there's a latecomer or a reimbursement agreement for this project that would be owed. And there's no guarantee of payment. So in theory, if the developer builds these improvements and 15 to 20 years goes by, they may not be reimbursed. So there is a risk associated with this. And the legal framework for this is outlined in the city code and state law for these types of agreements. And there are 2 different projects here with a couple different agreements associated with each project. So next week, when we bring this to council, it'll be outlined as 5 different approval actions, but it's really 2 for one of the projects and 3 for the other project. So Helena 1 water, sewer, and street improvement project, that is shown on the screen. It's a little teeny map there, but you can see a subdivision there, and there are certain improvements that were tied to this development, and this is where the developer constructed water, sewer, and street improvements along Sprague Avenue, Estrella Drive, and Eureka Avenue. And these improvements were built to city standards, of course, and accepted and inspected by the city. And now this is considered city-owned infrastructure that was built. So the costs were allocated proportionately to the nearby property owners. In this case, you can see the subdivision where that little cul-de-sac is and the road and those improvements. Those improvements benefit the property directly to the east, that vacant property. So when that property develops, they will have a specific portion to pay back this developer, I believe associated with the road and the infrastructure that was brought down. So that is outlined in the reimbursement agreements. And it is 20 years for utilities and 15 years for streets, as I mentioned before. Then there's some fun pictures of this project in action up there on the street, on the screen. You can see the street and the sidewalk, and then some utility installation going on it. Looks like a nice day there. And the second project is Helena 2, and this was just for water and street improvements, not sewer. And for this project, it was a smaller scope than the first one, and you can see the site there on the screen. It's a subdivision with a cul-de-sac and some surrounding parcels, and the developer in this case developed street and water improvements, and those improvements extend service beyond the project site, so it will benefit other sites adjacent, and in this case it's the site to the east, that vacant site. So same framework here, no city cost, reimbursement only occurs if future development occurs within that timeline. Some more pretty pictures here of the development. Looks like nice new pavement there and some utilities going in. So next steps are listed here on the screen. And this will be presented at the next meeting unless it goes on consent and isn't eligible for consent, but we would be asking for approval of these agreements, and all of the neighboring property owners that benefit from this did receive public notice of these reimbursement agreements. That is a requirement in code that the neighboring properties benefiting get a notice, and if they would like to request a public hearing, they can, and they did not in this case. So, happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Any questions from council? I think you're off the hook.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to letter D. This is a resolution for project acceptance for the citywide genetic enterprise access control system. And this is Mr. Rashid. Welcome.
Mr. Mayor, the council members, just to introduce myself, my name is Arman Rashid. I'm the IT director here in the city of Pasco. What I have in front of you is a proposal to approve or accept the work performed by Interwest Technologies under Genetech Citywide Card Access Project and release the retainage that we held on to. To give you a little bit of background to this project, back in July 17, 2023, Council approved Resolution 4358, authorizing $460,000 for a Genetech Unified Security System from Interwest Technology Systems. The purpose of this project was to take our outdated gate access system and unify it with the Genetech system, which was our camera system. Some of the things that we've done would be City Hall, Fire Station 81, 82, 83, City of Pasco water treatment plants. Those were the major ones, totaling to $396,000. As you can see, the budget approved was for $460,000, so we were under by almost $64,000. Here, just a picture on the left. You see the gate access panel. That's everybody pretty much familiar with. Behind the scene, these are the control panels. They're peppered across the facilities where these are installed. It also comes with software that allows us to automate some of the gate access and remotely open and close doors when needed. With that, staff recommends that you approve and accept the project performed by Interwest Technology under the contract of Genetech Citywide Card Access. The next step would be, once you approve it, we will release the retainage. That amount would be $14,088.92. With that, I thank you for your time and any questions you may have.
Oh, thank you. Any questions from council? Councilmember Perales?
Yeah, the only question I had, was this general fund money, or was this part of a capital improvement
It
money?
was a capital improvement project, yes.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Yeah, I was looking back because I couldn't remember. I'm like, I do not remember approving this. And then I saw it was in 23 and I was like, wow, that took them a while to do, I guess, huh? Technology upgrades. Okay. Well, Mr. Rashid, I guess you're off the hook. Thank you so much. Would anybody in the audience like to speak to this or the Brochi reimbursement, since I skipped right over that? Either this access control or the reimbursement to the Brochi Foundation. Going once, going twice. Moving on, letter E, Resolution Professional Services Agreement Amendment Number 3 with RH2 Engineering for design services for the process water reuse facility, Phase 4, irrigation system farm upgrades, and we are going to Director Sarah.
Good evening again, Mayor and Council members. We have talked a couple of times about this project. So this is the Phase 4 of work in our process water reuse facility, and as mentioned in the item, this pertains to the expansion of the land treatment system. So there is a map here, and I will give a quick overview of what this project is doing and how the facility operates, especially because we have likely new audience members, or our audience renews itself, and also some council members that may have not heard as much about this facility. City of Pasco operates a facility located in Franklin County that provides wastewater treatment for industrial users, and truly is wash water, is not full wastewater. So it's cleaner water than wastewater, but it's still not clean. And this facility provides pretreatment to that, and that means that it cleans the water to a certain level. From there, The water is sent to farm fields owned by City of Pasco and leased to farmers, where that water that is still containing some nitrogen in it, so some constituents are still left in it, which are useful for plants to grow. The water is applied in farm circles that have a rotation of crops. Those crops grow and take up those nutrients that exist in the water, helping those crops grow better than if they didn't have those nutrients, and then at the same time cleaning that water before the water reaches the groundwater. So the Phase 4 project provides an expansion to that disposal system in those fields. So we're adding 2 new circles. Actually, there's more equipment than just the 2 circles. It's truly almost 3 circles. But it's the 2 squares that you see in orange, which account for 2 full circles. And this project has been in design and has had to have its design adjusted based on some funding going away. There was expected to be received from ecology. So we had a couple of rounds of work. Now the design is finished, but we have identified that we have the source for power for some of those circles is insufficient. So we need to do some modifications to our design to be able to properly feed those circles with proper power so they can run. And we have also a booster station located close to that northern new field that we're going to be serving. And in order to run that pump station, we also need some additional supplies. So we're working with PUD and Big Bend to be able to serve those adequately. So this amendment for design services with RH2 allow us to make those modifications to our power supply and then have them still under contract to support us through the construction process. And that is because we anticipate running into some unmarked utilities as we're doing that power work. So the proposed amendment for this contract is for a total of just under $65,000. The overall contract with RH2 for their design services is, with this amendment, would be a total of $900,000. And we have negotiated this additional scope with them, and we think this is a fair price for the support we would receive. This is not to exceed this amount. That means that we only pay for the hours they use in our project, and we would be requesting them, they actually report back on how many hours, and the hours they spend are based on our request for them to support us. So with that, I would be happy to address any questions you may have. Here's the summary of the dollars that I mentioned verbally. I would be happy to address questions.
Councilmember Perales, go
Thank
right
you.
ahead.
The only, I'm okay with this. I think we're kind of rounding third base with this project. The only thing I had a question on, I don't remember ever seeing this, was on page 1, it says adopted budget for this project in the 2025 through 2026 biennial budget was $17 million. We've bonded 4.5. We were looking to get $12.5 million in an SRF loan, but was not received. And then below that says a 2.5 interfund loan is anticipated. So I guess my question is, where did the other $12.5 million come from?
Yes, that is a great question, and I am sorry we did not address it here. So we actually had rescoped the project to diminish the amount of work we're doing and fit it, because as we found out that ecology was not coming through with their loan, we realized that we just couldn't quite afford all the improvements we had planned. So really this phase was reduced to just the bare minimum needs, which was that expansion, those 2 new fields, instead of also upgrading some of their piping that we know will be failing soon, but we just couldn't afford to do all at once.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you. And I would just encourage, Director Sarah got me excited about public works and all of her stuff. And seriously, she's being modest, you guys, but that is a state-of-the-art green facility out there. And yeah, again, she's being very modest, but that's all the water that comes off of our processing plants. It's amazing, you guys. They put it in these vats, and we're able to skim the nitrates off of there and sell it. We're able to resell the methane off of there to Cascade Natural Gas. And then, like she was saying, then it goes out to the fields still with nitrates in it and able to nourish the crops and feed all those fields or whatever. And this is the kind of project that has really put us on the map as far as being, just a leading municipality as far as food processing, and especially with our proximity to the Columbia Basin Project, and also just being green and satisfying the Department of Ecology. Please spend a day with Director Sarah. Yeah, it's more exciting than I'm making it sound, but it's very, very interesting. So thank you very much. Would any of the public like to speak on this issue that's in the audience? Going once, going twice? Okay, moving on. Miscellaneous council discussion. Mr. Stewart?
I don't have anything further to report this evening. I would like to note that staff would like to pull the executive session off the agenda for this evening.
Okay, thank you. We will remove the executive session from the meeting. One of the things to discuss here for our miscellaneous council discussion is I know our clerk handed these out, and I was told this needs to happen in the public. We will not finalize this tonight, but just looking for your input. Obviously, it should match people's schedule, but it should match your interest level too. I mean, ideally, we're putting people on committees that is something they're interested in, potentially even passionate about. Just to represent the city of Pasco for the betterment of our community. Probably plan on being on at least 3 or 4, depending on the commitment. Some of them are kind of quarterly, and then you'll probably be the alternate on 3 or 4 as needed. And so, again, this is not binding what we're doing tonight. We're not necessarily playing for keepsies, but we got to start working through this a little. So I'm looking for a few, I guess, hard yeses and hard nos. And yep, I'm going to probably, I guess, go in seniority for what it's worth. So Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. I've been on the Parks and Rec Advisory Board for a number of years, even before I got on council. And I'd like to, if I could, to finish up on that. It's a great group of guys, as long as we get a quorum. So I'd like to finish off with that. And then the PSD Skilled and Technical Advisory Committee, I'd like to maintain that one as well, since I know a lot of the different teachers at the school level. And that would be, and I'm open to TriDeck, but I mean, again, I'm open to if other members of the dais want to go on that one. But that would be something I was on that before, then Serrano handled it, and then it's an option.
Okay, cool. Appreciate it. Councilmember Perales.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to just stay on the HAPO Center Advisory Board. I've been on there since prior to council, and then I've been on there by being, during my tenure on council. So I would like to stay on that one, and also the Good Roads and Transportation Association. I've kind of taken a role on the Budget Committee, so I'd want to see that through. I'd like to maintain my tenure on the Franklin County Law and Justice Council, and if I could, I'd like to be the rep for the Benton Franklin Transit Board. And I wouldn't mind being maybe the alternate for the TriDeck Board as well. You can put me on any boards if you want. I mean, if you need to fill something for alternates, just put me on something and I'll be there if I need to.
Okay. Perales. After the Transit Board, what was the one you said? Alternate.
Alternate for the TriDeck Board.
Oh, alternate for the TriDeck. Okay. Okay. Nope, that is very good. I guess, Mr. Figueroa, I made eye contact with you next. Sorry. We'll get down that way next. Yep, you guys were both elected at the same time. We could flip a coin, I guess. Again, just remember it's non-binding here, so.
Awesome. So yeah, I just want to share, I definitely would like to be on the HAPO Center Advisory Board as a community member, a sports coach, and somebody who spends a lot of time traveling the Pacific Northwest to different tournaments and different things and ideas. I think I definitely want to help out how we can kind of bring this into a hub so we can bring boost the economy and bring local dollars here. I think we have a really good infrastructure and we can definitely make it a little bit better. So I would definitely and learn a lot from Councilmember Perales. If we can kind of work together, I know we've kind of talked some ideas here, and I think it'd be a really good idea to kind of be on there. Furthermore, visit Tri-Cities board as well. Again, kind of a lot of ideas, visiting all around the area of how we can maximize, bring different events to the region so we can boost the economy as well. So that'd be another one that I'd be up for. Also, the Pasco Public Facilities District, that'd be something that I'd be willing to do. And the PSC Skilled and Technical Advisory Committee as well. As a former educator and somebody who spent time in the Pasco School District, there's a lot of connections, and kind of bridging that gap between the school district and city council would be great as well. I'm sure I can learn a lot from Councilmember Milne as well, so we can kind of collab together. And then any secondaries would be just the Ben Franklin Council of Governments and the Tri-Cities National Park Committee.
All right. No, that's very good. Thank you, Mr. Hernandez.
The Benton Franklin Transit Board. Interested in extending transit throughout Tri-Cities. It's somewhat limited sometimes. And the Benton Franklin Community Action Connections. I was going to do the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board, but I don't know, can two people be on it, or is it?
Mr. Hernandez, could you turn your mic on?
Oh, sorry. Good catch. Thank you.
I was gonna say, so far, there's only been one member.
Oh, okay.
But I know we talked about the National Park Committee. I mean, that would be something, it's more of a regional thing.
Oh, okay. And the Good Roads and Transportation Association Board.
Okay. Very good. Now we are to, I guess, Mr. Campos. You would be next, sir.
All right. I'll do the local housing trust fund one. Also visit Tri-Cities board. And then there was another one. I'm trying to find it. The lodging tax advisory. Actually, no, I can't do that one. That's crazy. My mic's not on either. Let's do the Mid-Columbia County Emergency Medical.
The Franklin County Emergency Management, is that, or did I miss one down?
Where's that one at?
Oh, it was towards the top. If you were saying something else,
Let's do the Franklin County one, because I just noticed that, that one won't work. Let's do
Okay,
the Franklin,
perfect. The
that one's
Franklin
fine.
County, okay.
Yep.
All right. Let me see, make sure I've got your name down there enough times. Okay. Councilmember Cava.
Yeah, I actually don't have a ton of preference. I'm just happy to serve in the way the council wants me to, which I guess is good because I'm last anyway. So, but any of these, emergency management, law and justice, solid waste advisory.
Okay, well, slow down there.
Well, I think
We'll just start checking your name, yeah.
I think Abel hit Franklin County Emergency Management Council. I can do the other one. I can do Mid-Columbia County Emergency Medical Services and Trauma Care Council.
Okay, what else you see, sir?
Law and Justice, towards the top there, Franklin County Law and Justice, Franklin County Solid Waste Advisory, those are fine. I mean, I'm just kind of throwing stuff out there. HAPO's
that's
great
fine.
too.
Those as-called ones are pretty nice. They don't come up very often.
Oh, well, hey, there you go.
So, okay, we will, I have most of these filled out. We'll have to kind of plug in some names for a few of the rest of them. I do probably, and I'm kind of grateful no one really spoke up for it, but I was actually looking forward to keeping the Ben Franklin Council of Governments. I was voted on to be the large city representative this year, and I've enjoyed working with Director Sarah and others, and I think we've gotten a lot done over the last couple of years, and look forward to continuing in that. Maybe I can fill in some other gaps here too. So I may end up reaching back out to you guys individually just to really kind of confirm times and everything if that works out. Anybody have any last on this before we move on? Okay. Still on miscellaneous council discussion. Does anybody have anything for the good of the city, the good of the board? See a couple lights on Mr. Campos. Is that Mr. Hernandez? Did you have something? Okay. No, we're good. So if no one has anything else, let's move to number 9, and this meeting is adjourned at 8:06.